Manor Lords. It's ambitious. A medieval city-building game with Total War-style real-time battles. But like so many other ambitious games, does it actually deliver? Well, I played an early access version of the game, and this is what I found. Big thanks, of course, to the Slavic Magic for sending me a review copy of the game so I could make this and hopefully many more videos for Manor Lords. There's a lot to cover about this game. Not only the two main features, city building and combat, but smaller, more surprising features like an upgrade tree, politics and diplomacy, hereditary management. But let's start with the headlines, shall we? During the time I've had to play Manor Lords so far, there's not been one bug, no lag, no crashes, no glitches. It has to be one of the smoothest early access games I've had the pleasure of previewing so far. The controls and the user interface are surprisingly intuitive and simple, despite the game having a plethora of features and configurations and changes and options all over the place. I never felt that the controls were clunky or the UI was difficult to navigate or unintuitive. Although I will admit having a little difficulty finding some of the more subtly hidden menus and features. The game does, however, give really good tutorial prompts along the way in your first game. I found these tutorials both really helpful at times, so for me they were very welcome, but you can easily disable them if you want to with the tick of a box. Now, in regards to the city building element of the game, some buildings were simply plop down, connect to a road, and off they go. But others, like houses, marketplaces, and farm fields, had a 4-point area snapping that could mold to roads and different shapes and sizes. Houses in particular were quite interesting, because depending on the shape and the size of the plot, some houses could be expanded with extra living space, and or workshops that could help your settlement produce anything from food and hides to armor and weapons.
Is it me, or is that hinge a bit stiff?
Like most city builders, and, well, reality, you want to ensure that things like your industry and production buildings are near storage, and your homes are near amenities like markets and churches for optimal logistics. The map and terrain, of course, challenges this by putting key resources all over the place. But your first priorities are shelter, food, and firewood. Now, I found food in particular very difficult to manage after the first year as your settlement grows. I didn't really have a plan going in, and decisions I made or neglected to make early on in the game really came back to bite me later on. People got hungry, upgraded houses started warning me that their requirements were not met, and my approval rating started to plummet. I had an approval rating of almost 80% at one point, and that dived to just over 50% at the height of the food crisis. This happened because I didn't expand quick enough to other areas, other sources of berries and hunting grounds, which are the primary source of food until you can get bread making up and running, which takes years. So, as your settlement levels up, you get these development points that you can spend in this tech skill perk tree thing. Here, you can specialize your settlement. Going for anything other than farming and food production in your first years is ill-advised, though. So, of course, I made the mistake of going into sheep farming and beekeeping. Oh, and look, everyone's starving. I wonder why. Anyway, the point is the city building and settlement survival aspects of Manor Lords are deep, intricate, and reasonably realistic. You can't really bumble your way through this one and expect to do well. The way your little village grows and develops over the months and years is so satisfying, though. And of course, it looks amazing, but we'll get into graphics and stuff a bit later. You'll soon be regretting that hodgepodge approach to placing buildings and wishing you left some room in and around everything for new buildings you unlock and expand later on, leading to a whole new puzzle of how to fit it all together.
Perhaps it was simply a bad batch. These things do happen from time to time.
Some minor points of concern, though. I noticed the market expands organically. When a family is assigned to produce a marketable good like food or firewood, they'll create a market stall for that product. But if that family is removed or reassigned to another product, the existing market stall never gets removed. I ended up with a dozen or so vacant market stalls. I also found that the amount of timber in my logging camp did not reflect the amount of timber available for construction projects or upgrades. Often unable to line up upgrades or projects due to having to wait for more lumber to be available, even though there was more than enough in the logging camp. and I never figured out why that was. Logs didn't get stored in the general store from what I could tell. But anyway, these and other issues like it may of course actually be intentional and I'm just misunderstanding the system, or simply an early access thing that needs to be fixed or adjusted later. But let's be honest, this is really minor stuff for a game this complex in early access. Now, onto the combat Conquest. So what about it? I mean, battles, conquest, and all things action, well, the battles themselves are like medieval combat in reality. It's just kind of a messy brawl of indistinguishable dudes slugging out with big sticks. The battles themselves can take a while to resolve. Well, unless you perform a pincer maneuver on a very outnumbered enemy, of course, then they just evaporate before your eyes. But two somewhat even forces slugging it out will slug it out for a long time until one emerges victorious. The animations, controls in these battles are very slick and intuitive. Anyone familiar with the Total War style battles will feel very comfortable. I was pleasantly surprised to see the AI going off and having their own little fights too. A rival lord clearing up some bandits to claim some territory. Of course, I used this opportunity to then engage the already tired and battle-weary troops of said lord and claim the territory myself. As with most medieval battle simulators, you generally want more and better units than the enemy, and to outflank them where possible. Archers seem very lackluster though. Maybe they just forgot to attach the points to their arrows, but they seem to just bounce off the enemy. My guess is balancing has nerfed archers because, well, let's face it, they were OP in reality, and they're still OP in video games. Anyway, the game gives you lots of options in battle for various tactics. You can order your units with various stances and speeds. Ordering your units to run everywhere burns through their stamina and makes them less effective. Effectiveness is an interesting mechanic I've not seen much in other games. This seems to be a culmination of things like fatigue, morale, terrain, and weather factors. For example, archers in a dense wood were very ineffective. Hired infantry, ineffective. In the case of two completely even forces clashing, the one with the highest effectiveness would probably win. Creating and building armies was really cool, something I've not seen before either. Armies or militias are created from the men in your settlement. By day they are farmers, hunters and craftsmen, but if you call them to arms they grab their spears and shields and march to battle. Manor Lords really showing its outstanding historical knowledge here. To create a militia, first you need equipment like spears and shields. Then you can create a militia. Men from the settlement will take the spears and shields home, and when they are called to arms will suit up and roll out. You can also hire mercenaries, but this costs some money from your treasury, a slightly different currency from the settlement coffers. Anyway, mercs are paid per month, so be careful hiring the expensive ones, and try to make the timing as close as you can to when you need them. Mercs also need to be marched to where you need them from wherever they appear on the region map. Sometimes that's the other side of the map. I managed to get them from one side to the other and almost back again within 2 months. Mercs are a great way to get some serious firepower at crucial moments. So you'll want to work on getting some cash in your treasury as soon as possible. In your first game, you probably won't get raided until the end of the second year, so you should have at least 20 spearmen and some archers by then. More than enough to deal with the first band of raiders. I hired some mercs just before the raids arrived, but I didn't need them in the end, so you could probably save your coin. However, throughout the years you'll see bandit camps appearing on the map. And especially in winter, these bandit camps will steal goods from you, mostly food, which as I mentioned before is already hard enough to make and keep. You can get rid of these camps by killing off the 18 to 20 or so bandits in the territory that they are camped in, and then razing their camp to the ground. When you do this, you'll get a choice. Add the loot to your treasury, or the settlement's coffers. The amount varies, but it's around 100 silver, which is a very useful amount. So it's worth marching out once a year to deal with these thieving gits. Do keep in mind, however, men from your settlement who are away fighting are not working, so your production is going to plummet while they're away, but from what I could tell the consumption stays the same, so you'll need to prepare. To claim a territory you need influence. Influence can be gained from expanding your settlement, upgrading buildings, and bribing the church with food. It took me about 3 years to gather enough influence to claim one region. You, of course, can't build anything in an unclaimed region, and from what I could tell, new settlements cost about 250 silver and take 5 families out of your main settlement. Although in my playtime I didn't get that far, I'm pretty sure you can also claim a region with military might. My rival lord marches into a region here to claim it. My dispute of his claim, however, led to a battle, and although I won, the region simply remained unclaimed. Overall, I found the conquest and combat aspects of the game very slick and intuitive, fun, and really good to look at. That brings me on to the visuals of the game. They're stunning. The vibrance and colour saturation seems on point, textures and detail much higher than expected for a top-down game. Oh, and did you know you can actually tour your settlement in third person? I mean, I'm dressed like a complete knob, but who cares? I can mingle with my people. Ew, they're gross. Actually, do you know what? Back to my godlike overview. Much better. Point is, it looks fantastic. Now, I do have everything on Ultra, and the resolution is 1440p running on an RTX 480. And as I said before, no lag, smooth 60 FPS throughout. The only time I've had jitters or lag is when it's doing an autosave, which I will admit did shatter my immersion on more than one occasion, but I'd rather have an autosave than not, to be honest. Anyway, I think it's safe to say that Manor Lords is one of, if not the best looking medieval city building conquest games out there. Now, there is one other feature that I wanted to mention. It's kind of hidden away, not really talked about so much, and it's the castle builder. I didn't get much time with this, unfortunately, but build a manor and you get to build a castle around it. Now, don't worry, you can always go back into the castle builder at any time and add more to it, but the manor is how you start taxing a region and building your treasury. The castle builder starts out with wooden palisades and some towers. Now, each part you build costs a ton of resources, so you will probably have to build it up piecemeal. As you add buildings, it increases the buildable radius of the castle. You build outer towers to increase the radius, and then walls can either go on the outside or honeycomb them as you expand. This is where the puzzle of building placement layout I mentioned earlier really comes in. Or you can do what I do and just build your manor on a hill far away from the smelly peasants. But yeah, if you want to enclose your town within the walls, it's going to be tricky and it's probably going to cost a fortune. Still, it looks like an awesome feature and I wish I had more resources and time to play with it some more. Oh well, guess I'll just have to play the game some more. Oh damn, what a shame. So in summary, Manor Lords is a very ambitious game tying elements from multiple past games like Banished, Farthest Frontier, Medieval Total War and Crusader Kings together in a surprisingly slick and intuitive way that leads to some very pretty looking and very immersive gameplay that will have you wondering where the hell did the last 5 hours go. Manor Lords is one of the year's most hyped games, and after what I've seen, it's going to live up to that hype and then some. It's a good one, guys. You can relax. Manor Lords is releasing to early access on April 26th. Wishlist on Steam, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel for more Manor Lords content, among many other things that may interest you, of course. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Is there anything you didn't like from what you saw today? Anything that's got you really excited? Let's talk. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully, I'll see you next time. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.